bet you can't guess who that is, Ben.
I have no idea or how it is relevant to today's video.
But you know it is, and I'm going to get to that. But before I do, Snoop D-O-double-G may be the gangster in Sandbox, but the original OG of the Metaverse is the Decentraland, Ben. And that's what we're going to cover today with a hint of versus Sandbox. But we're going to get into Decentraland on episode number 3 of the MetaMentors. We are going to cover the lands, the tokenomics, the gameplay, the brands that are involved, and there's some big brands. We're also going to add in here something I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to actually pinpoint, a few lands that I think are the deals of the day, and I'll kind of give a little bit of background on that also. Like that. So, and of course, we're going to hit what you can buy for $100, $1,000, $10,000. That seemed to be a hit with our viewers last week, so we're going to keep that going. But before we get going into that, Ben, why don't you hit us with a disclaimer and what's gone down in this week in the Metaverse? Sorry, I forgot one important thing. The music is DJ Paris Hilton.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know it.
She's part of Decentraland, yes, but we'll get into that.
You're right. She is relevant to today's video, unfortunately. But all right, as we were instructed to let everybody know who watches this, that none of this is financial advice. All of this is for entertainment purposes. While we think some of these are great ideas, do not take our word for it until you've discussed it with your financial team. All right, and for this week in crypto, we've had several more big things. A lot of it expounds on the stuff that has been happening. One of the big ones was the ex-Disney chairman, Bob Iger. He was talking about Disney getting into the metaverse as well. And he said NFTs are going to explode. People, especially Disney people, love collectibles, love stuff that is limited edition, love stuff that they can hold on to, that they can say only 500 people have this. I don't know if you've heard, they've got some sort of a popcorn basket at the parks right now that is huge. People are paying $50, $60, $70 for originally, and they're reselling them on the eBay and stuff for several $100s. So that just gives you an idea of what they're looking for in the real world. And he said the NFTs are going to do the same thing. Anything that they can prove is scarce or give some sort of a collectible number to, especially if they've got other things like passes to special events or something like that that tie in with them. He said it's going to be huge, and Disney is going hard into the metaverse. I'm going to put a link to that whole article below because he just says a ton of good stuff that if you're trying to get excited about the metaverse, that is it. I mean, Disney, one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, is jumping all in. So I thought that was great news. A lot of this kind of goes to the stuff that I'm really interested in, which is the tokenomics of all the metaverse stuff. And a lot of places like Next Earth, Sandbox, and some of these other metaverses are starting to get more into getting away from Ethereum a little bit, at least until they get their ETH 2.0 or their second layer ETH. And they're going to Polygon, which is the Matic coin.
Yes. Yes.
And they said it's just so much cheaper. The gas fees are next to nothing. This isn't, well, it is news because several of them, including Sandbox, which we talked about last week, is getting to where the gas fees are much cheaper, much more doable, where you're not spending 50% more just to pay to get it over. So that's huge when it comes to mass adoption of the metaverse and of the coins.
Yeah.
With that.
Sorry to interrupt you. Caleb was on there 2 days ago picking up some NFTs, and he messaged me that gas was up to $1,000. We hadn't seen it. The highest I'd seen it prior to that was like $130, which was that was nuts.
Yeah, and I don't quite understand if it's how crowded the network is at the time. And I know this is a terrible thing. This is something I'll need to look up because it varies. So when I was trying to move some Matic from Ethereum to the Polygon network, it was the same deal. At one point, it was $220, and then I came back later that night and I did it for $38. But that's no way to do business. I mean, if they're going to be taking over if they're going to be replacing traditional finance, they're going to have to get that under control. And that's a big thing that Ethereum 2.0 is supposed to do, which.
Yeah. And some of it already is. And yes, my understanding is that the amount that the gas has all to do with how many transactions are being done right at that moment. So the miners are backed up trying to get that stuff done. But my understanding also is you don't necessarily want to pay ultra cheap gas too if that's going on, because then your transaction could get bumped back and back and back, and you could lose that buy or sell.
Right. Especially if you're buying a time sensitive object, if you're buying an NFT or buying land and you need it to go through it as immediately.
Which so many of them are. But yeah, just like you're talking about the Polygon-matic, the transactions I've done there are literally like 2 cents, 1 penny, like it's massively less.
Yep. And since the original Ethereum originally came online, there's obviously been a ton of technology updates, and that's why they're switching over. They're doing a little fork, and I'm not sure whether they're splitting or whether they're combining, but ETH 2.0 is what they're working on to eliminate a lot of those problems. And speaking of Ethereum, Cathie Wood, who's the ARK Invest lady, the queen of fast-growing technology and investing, she had an article earlier this week, or she did an interview, and she was given some kind of the price predictions, and she was talking about Ethereum, and she said they're working out some bugs right now, but she fully expects it to completely replace traditional finance. And the fact that you can build on, rather than the Doge coins and the Litecoin, the stuff that you can use as currency, she said you can build on it. This is so much more than just a currency, but Ethereum is more capable of becoming a currency than Bitcoin is. But on top of that, it's so usable for Web 3.0 type of stuff. She said, and I quote, by 2030, Ethereum will have a $20 trillion market cap, which at today's price is about a 50 or 75x. The point is, it is 50x. I'm sorry. A 50x from today's market cap, which means if it 50x's from $4,000, you're looking at $175,000 Ethereum coin. Now that's by 2030. There's 9 years to go. There's a lot of stuff that can happen between now and then, but she's literally putting their money where her mouth is, and they're investing huge in it. In fact, they're trying to get an ETF together for Ethereum as well as Bitcoin. So
yeah, how crazy is that? All this rapidness, and there's still not even an ETF for Ethereum or some of this crypto.
Right. And that's, again, traditional finance slowing everything down, because they know what's going to happen when they open up where you can invest into your retirement, into crypto like that. If you can put an ETF together where people can move part of their traditional retirement funds over to that, it's going to hit it like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. And that's a question I'm already getting from a lot of my clients. And yeah, there's no good answer for that yet, for trying to move those funds over. And to step back just a second, you were talking about 50x times a 4,000 price point at Ethereum. And we're at like 2,600, just under 2,700 today.
Right. So, right. And she was given kind of for the next few months, will probably be at or around or under 4,000. So thinking of 50x from there. But yeah, I've got the Bitcoin price clocked today at 36,500 and Ethereum at just over 2,600. So you're looking at even a potential 75, 60 or 75x for Ethereum.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit on some numbers or some stats that kind of coincide with that here once we get into Decentraland that are going to magnify that and probably excel it, at least according to some of the references that I've been seeing.
Right on. Yeah, and that's about what I had in the crypto news, except for she also just in that same interview expected the Bitcoin in the same time frame to get to 1 million, which isn't as big of a jump, but $1 million Bitcoin, the more experts you hear say that, the better you can feel about the crypto field in whole. I mean, that is just great news. That is good news for everything in the crypto space.
Yeah, I go right back to what I've been saying since I got involved with this and was the real aha moment is when you have a technology that's this transparent, this secure, and is accessible from pretty much everybody, like it streamlines and changes, pretty much everything that's attached to it. And we're seeing that.
Right. Mass adoption.
Mass adoption. Before we leave the week's news, just real quick, don't want to spend too much time, although I know you're a big fan and have all his albums, but Justin Bieber just paid 500 ETH for a Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yeah, Bored Ape Yacht Club.
And that's rumored to be at least 5 times the value of what it should be. And he bought it because he thinks it resembles him. The funny part is, like, 3 days prior, it was available for 150 ETH. He buys it 3 days later at 500 ETH.
And who knows what it'll be worth next week.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. But we're definitely starting to see that. Well, with that wrap up, let us jump into the story of Decentraland. And there's a lot of connections or similarities I noticed with Sandbox as I was getting into this, and some really, really impressive numbers. But Decentraland, like Sandbox, was started by two Argentinian friends, and they started in 2015, and it was just basically a pixel land. There wasn't maps, there wasn't anything like that. It was just based on pixels. And what the thought behind it is to create an art world where basically their friends or whoever could just come in and just go nuts creating stuff. And so jump to 2017, and they had what's called a land auction that was based on some tokenomics, and that token was actually called land. And so if you took part in that auction, you could buy one parcel of land with each land token. The cheapest pieces on that day at that auction went for $20. So huge increases we'll see as we're going down this. But so that was 2017, kind of quiet for a few years. Along comes 2020, 2021, and there's a massive art boom. So, Decentraland is advancing. People are getting more and more interested. And then all of a sudden, Sotheby's steps in and buys a chunk of land, puts up a replica of one of their art galleries, and starts hanging digital art within this gallery that they're going to sell or have sold recently at Sotheby's auction. And so people can go through Decentraland, cruising Decentraland, and see these art pieces that are either going up for auction or have come off auction. And that just started a huge movement towards creation that kept going through 2021, which, let me remind you, this was just last year. So right. Like you've hinted to Ben, had you got involved with Decentraland a year ago, or even 9 months ago, you would have been in front of a lot of this. So June 21, the Republic Realm, which is a massive technology and real estate based virtual company, right. They went in and bought 259 parcels, which is gigantic. And basically a parcel similar to Sandbox is a 1x1 square. Then you have estates and districts, just like Sandbox also. So anyways, they bought 259 parcels together for roughly $913,000. And they created or are creating they're calling it the MetaJuco, which, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but apparently over in Asia somewhere, there is a massive outdoor and indoor, shopping venues, like, anything that you can think of entertainment wise within this district. And that's what they're creating their version of in Decentraland. October 21 of 2021. So just a couple months later, they had the first 4-day free concert, right. or venue concert. They had over 80 artists, which included Deadmau5, Alice in Wonderland, and DJ Paris Hilton.
That's right.
Now we're all tying it all back together. I didn't even know she was a DJ. Did you know that?
I did know that. It goes along with Kim Kardashian's stock picks last week. Now DJ Paris Hilton joining the Metaverse. I think we're following the wrong people. We're following these experts in the field. We need to be following the teenage magazines and seeing what these tweenie boppers are doing, because they are at the forefront of it. And she actually performed at the little 4-day festival. And performing as a DJ is just playing somebody else's songs, but with you fading in and out. But she did perform, and yeah, it was a huge deal. Very well attended.
Yeah, very well attended. Everybody was in avatars, including the performers, the artists. So, it brought a ton of attention. And so, what's the future look like for Decentraland? And, we don't know, but it's definitely bright at this point. I listened to an interview with the CEO of tokens.com. And basically he described Decentraland as a social platform of the metaverse, and Sandbox is more of a gaming platform. So there's some differences there, although to the naked eye, it looks like they're very similar, which they are, but there's some major differences there. So, but one of the interesting things the CEO said is that with technology, or the metaverse is like that type of technology, you typically don't see a doubling of traffic or performance. It compounds even more than that. So he said that from the beginning of 2021, there was roughly 15,000 daily users on Decentraland. At the end of 2021 in December, it was at 500,000. That's a 30x jump. And he said, you can expect to see at least that, but most likely more than that next year and for the following year and possibly past that. But what a really good reference point that he made that really got my attention is if it 30x's the next 2 years, that will be the size of Facebook. You'll have that many users in Decentraland, in the metaverse, running around in 2 years, size of Facebook. And I don't remember how many billions of people use Facebook, but it's massive. Obviously, we all know that.
Yes, crazy. Which is good news for everybody. I mean, it's good news about Decentraland. That's huge. 15,000 to 500,000, regardless of what the actual price of the land and the tokens are doing. Yeah. They say invest where the mass adoption is happening. It's happening right now. Once it really fires up, once the investing catches up with the adopting, it's going to be hard to jump on at the price that it is right now. So
yeah, and that's a great point, probably a good segue going into the lands. But that's something you got to keep in mind with these projects that are the most advanced, have the most hype, which we've covered here. We're covering with Decentraland and Sandbox. These are at the pinnacle. And when you look at these land prices, if you've not bought virtual land or you're not, fairly wealthy, it's a lot to swallow. But you have to really take into account where these are headed. Now, obviously, there's some risk there. You got to decide which world you're going to invest in, but there's huge potential. And so, as you can see, we've got this map of Decentraland up here, and you can see some of these major projects. And one of the things I'm going to do today that I think will add great value, that I realized after the Sandbox episode, is I scoured this map for hours and hours and hours looking for a couple pieces of property that I thought we're going to call them for now the deal of the day, basically, that offered some good value. So they may not be the cheapest, but they're within reason and they offer some good value. And so we're going to kind of touch on that. And here is the map of Decentraland. And you can see it's a vast area, some really big chunks of land. These green spots here are, they call them Genesis zones. And I think there's some different names for it, but an important part about Decentraland is when you start in this game, everybody starts right here in this spot. So from here, you can imagine there is a ton of traffic that's stemming out in all directions. And you can warp to different areas here, but a lot of people just cruise the main roads. And so a lot like the Sandbox, location, which I imagine, Ben, we're going to probably see that thread, through every metaverse darn near. But so you want to have a really, at least the best location you can get for your money. And like Sandbox, your main thoroughfares here you can see these a lot better next to roads and so forth. That's going to be really key location wise. Although with Decentraland, the game's already open. And so messing around in here, you can run across other people's lands. And they want you to do that because they want you to see their projects, their advertisements, stuff like that. So although the roads are the main thoroughfare, and in my personal opinion, or what I'm seeing, it's not near as important as maybe Sandbox or some of these other roads might be. We'll see when Sandbox opens, but not near as important because you can run across these lands and see things. So essentially take shortcuts through people's backyards like you used to do in Douglas then. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
And so again, these projects are some pretty massive ones. So let's start kind of dissecting it down. We're going to jump on OpenSea here, and similar to Sandbox, you can buy on the marketplace on Decentraland, or you can go into OpenSea, the secondary market. And as of right now, OpenSea seems to be the preference when you're buying lands and NFTs, which lands are classified as NFTs. Because it's much easier to kind of streamline it. You can see what the floor price is, which again, that's the starting price for things. You can see what activity has been going on within Decentraland, recent sales, as within the hour here. And yeah, that helps set some of the pricing. Within Decentraland, Mana is the coin of choice. So you have to purchase the land with Mana. It operates on the Ethereum blockchain also, just like Sandbox. And so I prefer OpenSea when I'm looking for stuff anyways. And again, you can click on these and go to the actual map of Decentraland and start narrowing these down, spending time there, figuring out what's going to make the most sense for you. Because just because one land might have more traffic than the other doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the best for whatever you're trying to set up, whether it's, something for fun or you're setting up a business or some type of marketing. That part you've got to decide. But going back to this overall map here, there's a couple places that I really zeroed in on that I think offer some good value. And actually one of these that I'm going to show you isn't even on the market. This little piece of land came to me by an individual that owns quite a bit of property throughout different metaverses. And this is one of the ones that he's looking to liquidate to get into some other stuff. And he's part of a group that you and I belong to, Ben, the Digital Landowners Society.
Landowners.
Yeah. So, and we're going to talk
the NFT.
Yes, you own the NFT. That's the buy-in, right?
That's
like
right.
We've talked about, a lot of these NFTs can be confusing for people, but look at it more as a transportation vehicle to get access to stuff. And that's what Digital Landowners Society is. So anyways, I'm going to expose one of these properties that's not even on the market. Unfortunately, he wouldn't give me a price. He said, make me an offer, but he is wanting to liquidate. So back to this map here. So in getting all my ducks in a row and learning about Decentraland over the last week and multiple weeks, one of the things that came up in an interview, again, by the CEO of tokens.com is he is fully expecting the next big hit or the next area to take off, next niche is going to be in fashion. Music has been the first one across the metaverse. I think almost everybody agrees with that. The next one is fashion. And what's interesting is he said at this point, it'll be any day. And once fashion hits, everybody will know, because that is a mass adoption of celebrities, companies. There's just a ton of money in fashion, and people just tend to pay attention to that. So for me, I zeroed in on that, and you've got the fashion area over here. So if fashion is going to be taken off, and also with fashion, people tend to revisit those same stores, just like in the real world, or same areas, to buy and buy and buy again, and also see what's going on. So owning a piece of land over in this area, in this fashion area, is going to be, in my opinion, a very strong spot. And so the last parcel I'm going to show here, which is the parcel that's not even on the market. And funny enough, in this map, it was available prior to this member within the Digital Landowner Society that has now told me that he would be open to, an offer on it. So these three pieces right here is the property, and right here on the main thoroughfare, right off of a Genesis area. This area is kind of sparse right now. There's just basically different things all over going on, but this is your deal of the day, specifically because It's not available on the market yet. There isn't a price on it, and it's make me an offer. I'm looking to liquidate so I can put my money somewhere else. So I don't know that his motivation is really strong, but he's definitely interested in selling. And so, there's an opportunity there. Who knows what he's going to ask for? But this is something that, you can look at some of these other properties, see what they've sold for on OpenSea, and kind of get an idea of, what that value might be and what you could offer. Again, you've got the activity there. So that is the land deal of the day. And it's a 3-piece. So get it while it's hot.
I was reading about the gameplay. One of the things that just recently happened was Sony had like a product showcase, and they own some spot somewhere in Decentraland, and you were able to come in, and they were showing new technology that was coming up. They were giving bonuses and discounts for anybody who was buying something new in the real, tablets or otherwise. And they were like, well, there's so many people in there right now, and they're kind of just looking for stuff to do right now. So they basically hosted their own trade show and kind of showcased their new lineup of products, and people were getting to go in and kind of see this stuff and try it out and see the price.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, how ingenious is that you can create something digitally, put it out there, see how people react to it. And if they don't like it, then you don't spend the manufacturing cost to make it.
Right. And from what it sounded like, people loved it, but people also, it's the novelty of it to go and try out a new cell phone in the metaverse. It's like, well, who cares? There's a lot of phones that are pretty similar, but the fact that it's the one that you tried out in the metaverse and you got to play with digitally first. I mean, we call it gameplay, but it's not gameplay. It's a lifestyle. It's the Decentraland. It's the metaverse lifestyle that is what's going on in these places. It's not a game. It's what's happening in your life inside this program. You know what I mean? So there are games available, but we should really start calling it the world or the metaverse lifestyle, because you're able to play the games. One of the big things that really got Decentraland going as far as getting players in there is they've kind of been one of the leaders in digital gambling in the metaverse.
Yeah,
and I'm going to, at this point, throw up a little bit of some gameplay. I was watching a guy go into the casino, and he went up to a slot machine, and he's got the credits, and he just pulled it. I don't think he won when he was actually doing the screen recording, but he said that he'd won all his money back on a pull earlier the night before. And then he went over to a roulette table, and like, you can just bounce around. And even if you're not a gambler, it's like every other form of technology. It sort of follows, and I hope my mom doesn't hear this, but it sort of follows the sins, the inappropriate videos and the gambling and the black market goods is sort of what leads the way in technology. And then the rest of the world catches up. Once drug dealers find a way to sell stuff online, which they're already way past all this, once they figure out how to sell stuff online, what's easy and efficient and low cost and, anonymous, the rest of the world follows. Once these companies, I mean, Decentraland is not a gambling, it's not a casino company. You know what I mean? It's a video game company. So they've got roulette, and that's cool. But wait until MGM or Sands or Sahara, any of these huge in gaming, wait until they get a hold of it and they say, hey, they're making billions of dollars in Decentraland, and they're not even casino companies. Wait until MGM decides, that's multi-billion dollars, and it's hard to get people to show up to Las Vegas in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah. But everybody's got access to it on their computer. Wait till they start dumping money and they buy one of these plots and they build a Vegas-style mega resort where you can walk in and play branded slot machines. You can go up to any table and play every type of table game. They have poker tournaments right now in Vegas that have 5,000 people, and they're paying 10, the World Poker Tournament, World Series of Poker, or the WPT, the big one, the WSOP, World Series of Poker, $10,000 a seat, and they have over 5,000 people that play that. And it's like, wait until they find out they don't have to travel to Las Vegas and find a hotel room. They can do it from the comfort of their own home, and it's well regulated, and it's ran by Rio Resorts, the people who do it right now.
Yeah, the best in the industry.
You're looking at millions and millions on one of these little dots, on one of these little parcels. You can have a casino, and it personally can bring in billions of dollars in a year, and then who knows what else will pop up around it. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Now the real question, Ben, what our viewers are dying to know is it possible to count cards virtually?
Well, the beautiful part of gambling virtually is if you get something like an MGM or a Caesars that's an official big one, they're governed because they operate in America. They're governed by the same laws if they had a real deal. So they have to run a fair game. And if they run a fair game, they have to have a smart contract style where if I put it on this, it has to be on roulette, it has to be a random generated number. And if it lands on that, they don't have the opportunity to say, no, you weren't ready, or it's a smart contract. So the deal is done. So they can't get out of it. It's a very open and transparent. This is even more transparent than a professionally run huge casino right now. You can get into the code and see that this is not shady at all. You know what I mean? Like, you can actually see what's going on, and that makes it a fair game. Now, I wouldn't know what I was looking for, but I guarantee you, if somebody was running a shady casino in the metaverse, people would know about it before they ripped off the second person. You know what I mean?
For sure. I saw in that same vein, I saw here recently that one of the casinos, somebody bought a cigar for their avatar for $50,000, equivalent to $50,000 American.
Must have been a Cuban.
Clearly smelled delicious, but the conversation is, who in their right mind would do that? Well, it turns out that avatar, whatever avatar has that cigar, makes 10% more on its winnings within that casino. So if you're a heavy gambler, you could probably make up that 50,000, I would think, fairly quickly. Right.
And I mean, like fashion, that same thing applies to what you were talking about with fashion earlier. Well, if I can buy a t-shirt for $4, why in the heck would I buy a t-shirt that costs $400?
Right.
Well, because that's just what people do. That's just what they do, just because they can. So this is no different than the real world. Why, when you can buy a $10 pair of New Balances, would you buy an $800 pair of Yeezys? And it's because, why not? That's what people are thinking. And it's not going to be any different. Yeah. It's going to happen. You're going to be able to buy them digitally. And your guy is going to be able to wear digital Yeezys. I think I'm saying that right. But
my avatar is clearly going to be so much cooler than me. Do you think
That's true.
Is there room in the smart contract that my avatar can tell dad jokes? Can I get that programmed in somewhere?
I think so. As long as mine doesn't spill mustard on the front of his shirt when he's eating a hot dog, then I don't mind spending $400 on a shirt that I'll only have to buy once. But I don't have the ability to do that in real life. Anyways, live poker was another one. I touched on it, but it's the amount of people that play poker online, and the regulations in America are loosening up. They're starting to I think it was opened up to the states for like sports gambling and online poker. So now it's up to the states. It's decriminalized or not illegal federally. So it's just a matter of time before they start really opening this stuff up. And if I can sit over here in England and play poker with my friends in a legitimate, clean game without having to worry about getting, the hometown basically by somebody's dirty dealing. I mean, that's just going to be great. And if you've ever been to a poker tournament, people will go sit at a poker table for 12 hours a day and if they're good,
Yeah.
for days on days in a row. And if you've got people like that in the metaverse, then there is stuff that you can market to them. You can,
Yes.
the more people that are in there, the more of an audience you'll be able to have, the more businesses will come chasing that audience. It's just like anything else in Vegas. Everywhere you go, there's advertisements for shows, music, food, everything, apparel, gear. So it's just crazy what their stuff they're doing. Of course, my mind went straight to the gambling part of it because that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy. But they're going to have, just like Sandbox, they're going to have simple games. They're going to have no money to play games. They're going to have free games that you can earn free NFTs and different play to earn stuff, which is just, we are at the very, very, very beginning of this. And they're trying to build, triple A rated games on this platform. And we're not that far from it. And it's just everything about it. Very, very exciting.
My camera froze again.
I was wondering if your smile was just like permanently frozen on there. All right. And as far as the gameplay goes, one of the best descriptions I heard of it, for a lot of the worlds, but especially Decentraland, is it's like the malls of the 1980s and the 1990s. The mall isn't where the mall is just where everything's happening. It's got the arcade in there. It's got the stores. It's got the shops. But when you think, oh, what are you doing this afternoon? Let's just go to the mall and hang out. You can just go into Decentraland.
Yeah.
You can wander around. If there's live music playing, you can pop in and watch somebody perform. If you want to go play a game at the arcade, you can. If you want to order real life food through Uber Eats or something like, you can get new clothes for just to go spend some time and converse. You can see other people. You can bring your friends. I thought that was because the picture that I'm picturing in my head of the malls of the 1980s and the 1990s is back when they were packed. Not like the malls now where everybody's staying at home and ordering all their stuff online, but you're going to get that communal aspect with the fountains and the food court and somebody playing music and, people laughing and hanging out and having a good time. So I thought that was really a good way to describe it. And I'm really looking forward to getting more people in here. And experiencing it.
As an adult, we need those examples because it's hard for us to understand. But these young kids, that's how they, hang out with their friends.
Right. Yep. The old Call of Duty lobby where you're sitting there and you get to talk smack on everybody and you're seeing what happened in school today. I mean, you're just carrying it on like you're sitting there right next to each other in person.
Yeah, they're already living it.
Yes, they are already living it. So anyways, with Decentraland, like Sandbox had the sand token, Decentraland has the mana token. The mana token currently is about $2.70. I think it even went down a little bit today. Of course it went down because I bought 100 of them. So I bought 100 of them at $2.71 just to kind of see where we'd be in a year. Had I known we were going to be doing this YouTube channel, I would have hung on to the 500 that I sold last year for 24 cents each. February 7th of last year, I was moving around just trying. I think I'd made 20% and I was pumped. So I sold 500 of them for 24 cents. I was trying to get to a quarter and it just wasn't getting up there. So I sold them at 24 cents a piece, 500 of them. And now I've bought back in. I bought 100 of them for $2.71. So I missed that 12x run up, but hopefully it'll go up even more. In fact, like I did last week, I found out some of the price predictions for where they think the coin's going to go. So let me just give you some information on the mana token before we get to the price predictions. The original supply was around 2.8 billion tokens before the burns and everything.
Yeah.
Right now, it's got a $4.75 billion market cap. To compare that, sand token, or the sand market cap is about 3.7. So it's about $1 billion bigger than sand, which is what we did last week. So and to put those into perspective, 3.7 billion. Bitcoin's market cap is 730 billion. So
Okay.
we're hundreds and hundreds off of the market cap of Bitcoin. And one of the things that people keep talking about is the usability of tokens like these. Bitcoin is a great store of value, or that's what, some claim its claim to fame is the store of value. But stuff like the mana token and the sand token, these are usable tokens that you're using to buy and sell in OpenSea, in avatar, marketplaces. So this one, Decentraland, is Mana, MANA.
Yeah.
On pricepredictions.net, it said by the end of the year, right now, like I said, it was at about 270. They're thinking by the end of this year, 450. By the end of 2025, they said conservatively $13.54. No matter how you look at it, that's 5, 6, 7x. So that's a pretty good investment. And that's given that nothing crazy happens. To me personally, there's a couple other ones on here that show it could go quite a bit more parabolic. And I think that depends on who goes where. If Snoop Dogg and everybody else kind of sticks towards Sandbox, maybe it grows crazy and this one grows nice and slow and maybe is more business oriented. But all it would take is a couple of big names or a couple of big companies to pop into this. And just the excitement around crypto, it's nothing like traditional investing. It can go 100x tomorrow if somebody drops the right news. So I'm always way more optimistic than I am pessimistic, because I know that if you give it enough time, stuff like this is going to go up. You never know what it's going to do in the short term. And that's why we, and everybody in this space, leads off with saying this is not financial advice. I don't know what it's going to do in a month or a year.
Right.
But it's pretty exciting. And if you're thinking as far as adoption wise, how can it go down when 15,000 people were using it, now 500,000, and at the end of the year, 5, 10 million, who knows? So one of the digitalcoin.com, they said by 2025 it could be 765, but between 2025 and 2030 they were expecting a $75 mana coin. So from 275, you're talking 25, 30x now at that point. And that's the 2030. This is obviously the decade for crypto. I mean, if Kathy Wood's saying Ethereum's going to go up 50, 75x, the rest of these are going up 25, 30x. I mean, if Ethereum does go up 50x, I wouldn't be surprised if these do the same thing or more, depending on who they're using for their gas fees and for the buying and the selling of the lands on here. These could go parabolic. The mana token, the one we're doing this week, I looked up, it's available on Coinbase. Sand token wasn't, mana is. So you can get it on Coinbase or crypto.com, which is my favorite, Kraken, Binance, eToro, which is more of a traditional investing, that's like a, not that Robinhood is traditional, but where you can get onto there, you can invest in stocks or some cryptos, and it's actually listed on eToro, which not a lot of them are. So that's pretty cool. If you've got eToro, you can invest on it in there. And I think that's what I've got for the coin. It's so frustrating to see my wallets from years ago. I bought Ethereum when it was $89 a coin. And that wasn't that long ago. And I was looking at it the other day in my Coinbase wallet, and it said, congratulations on buying 9.5 Ethereum at $89 each. And it makes you sick knowing that got up to almost $5,000. And I think I sold it for $110 each. I made a pretty good profit, or so I thought. And so now I'm buying and hanging on to them.
Yeah, I'm hearing those threads, but you've been ahead of the curve on quite a few things, which obviously you and I strongly believe with what's going on now. And I think that goes right into kind of what you're doing, what I'm doing. I think what a lot of people are doing is this whole new area has such explosive growth. It's already happening. It's not, is it going to happen? It's already happening. Look at the companies getting involved. So if you spread your money out amongst all these different things, maybe 9 out of 10 of them, maybe 49 out of 50 of them don't do great, but do something. But you got that one that it's not like the regular market where, that thing increased by 5-6 times.
Right.
These big ones are going, 10, 50, 100 times, 1,000 times. Sometimes you hit big on one of those for a very affordable buy-in of $100. You could make millions, and people are.
And that's what I'm trying to teach myself with this channel and off of it is I keep looking at stuff in the terms of traditional finance. And when you've made 20, 25%, that's really good. Take some profit off the table. And it's like, and it never fails. I get so excited when my Dogecoin that I bought for it wasn't a fourth of a cent. It was 0.4 cents. So it was just less than half a cent. When it went to 1.5 cents and I tripled my money, I sold. It was well over $1,000 worth. I remember because I was just sick because then it went to 13 cents. And I was like, I just missed out. And it was something like $17,000, $18,000. Then it went to 70 cents. And I was so frustrated. And it's like, because I was so happy about making 300% that I sold everything. And I was like, look at this. I just turned my $1,000 into $3,000. And then it went, you know what I mean? Yeah. So right now, while I'm learning, while I'm doing this channel, while we're doing this kind of deep dive into the metaverse and crypto, I'm still flipping some, but I've got a long-term wallet that when I buy it for the channel, for research purposes, I'm putting it over there long-term and we'll check in on it years down the road. Which leads us into, if you're thinking about investing in this space, like we did last week, like we're going to do next week, we've got 3 different categories. Whether you're capable of investing $100, around $1,000, or $10,000, what are your options in Decentraland to make money? Very similar to last week. I don't know if you've caught that pattern, but Decentraland, very similar to Sandbox. Similar to last week, if you have $100, you can buy into the token, the Mana token, which is the native utility token that's used to buy the land, that's used to buy in their marketplace, their NFTs, their wearables, entry into the games, playing the casino games. It's called the Mana token. For $100, you can get about 30 of them because the token is $2.71 right now. So that's your entry point into Decentraland, $2.70. If you have $1,000 and you're more invested and you're ready to kind of see what else you can do in Decentraland, there is a marketplace inside the game itself. Now, like we've talked about, there is the OpenSea or Raribles. Any place you can buy and sell NFTs, you can do them for Decentraland, including the marketplace in Decentraland. Same as last week, you can buy the gear, you can buy the NFTs, you can buy the passes. I mean, even some of the stuff that is doing limited participation. I don't know if that 4-day festival was limited, but it's just like any other, it's just like scalping concert tickets. If they're doing 100 NFTs to get into this event, you can buy that for 100 mana and sell it before the day of the concert. I mean, there are ways to get in there and make your money.
I almost forgot. I'm sorry I cut you off. I can't believe I forgot about this. A couple days ago, Coachella put out that they're going to sell 10 NFTs that are good for free access to every one of their concerts for a lifetime. They haven't put a price out, but 10 Coachella NFTs, lifetime of Coachella.
See, and how do you put a price on that? Because what's a Coachella ticket going to cost in 10 years? So you buy that right now. If you can come up with whatever it takes to either get that, win that, or buy that, I don't want to say it's priceless, but it's hard to put a price on something like that. And if you get into this early, if you do that kind of stuff, if you bite quickly, then you get to make the market. I mean, if there's only 10 of them, especially, those aren't going to turn over very much. The beauty of a lifetime ticket is a lot of people, probably 8 of those people are buying it so they can go to Coachella every year. 2 of those people will have it going, all right, who am I going to sell this to, and how much, what's the most that I can pay for that? You know what I mean? What's the most that I can get out of that? So
it is, you know, and you're talking about only 10 is what I'm hearing. So you let your imagination run wild. I can imagine that it's going to be some hefty price points. And I don't know if you just, I imagine they're going to do some type of auction or giveaway or something.
That's the beauty of this. When people say, oh, these NFTs, I can just screenshot it and then I've got the NFT. That's not how it works. These NFTs are tickets, you know what I mean, that you're not able to duplicate. You can go screenshot or, scan a concert ticket. And when they get up there and they go, no, that's not you. That's not how this works. You got to show the ID with the name. I mean, this has all the smart contracts, everything built into it to where only the person who actually owns it can actually use it. And that there's a lot of money to be made because of that, because it's so secure. You're not buying a scalp ticket on the corner outside of the Lakers game. Yes. You're buying a 100% genuine lifetime pass to Coachella.
They will continue to go up in value. I mean, you're going to free concerts for as long as you like, and it's going to keep continuing to increase in value.
Right. That's the best part, is if you were into Coachella, you could go for 5 years. And at the end of those 5 years, that ticket will be worth more than it was when you got it. You know what I mean?
How nuts will it be that, Ben Kirstein went to these Coachella concerts because he had this ticket. That's going to be imprinted in the blockchain for history.
Right. You can buy Paris Hilton's Coachella ticket when she's done with it. And then you go on the same name right beneath it.
I'm finding it right now. Beat you to it, Ben.
So that's what you can do with $1,000. The NFTs, the buying and selling. There is advertising. There are games in there. You could take $1,000 and go put it on black on roulette. I mean, there are ways to earn money, but there are ways to win money also. And sometimes, if you've got the coins to spare, winning money is more fun than earning money. So
yeah.
And if you've got 10,000, like we said, next week we're going to have a metaverse that's got a much more reasonable entry point for buying land. But like Sandbox, this one's pretty steep. You have to have $12,000 to $15,000 to be in the conversation for one of these little parcels. So if you're looking at the $10,000 to $20,000 entry point, that's when you can start buying land. And the good part about that, even though it's so expensive, is that there is just no dollar amount that you can really genuinely put on what it will be worth in 5 years. We don't know. I mean, it is a golden goose that could pay for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And like Gary Vee constantly says, do not use your rent money, your mortgage money, your food money, use expendable income, but there's opportunities all over. So it's just a matter of figuring out what are you getting the most value out of it? And are you getting more value out of Sandbox or, Decentraland, the token, what is going to be more valuable to you? And again, talking about that $1,000 price point, that the Landau NFTs, which is the one I've been looking at here most lately, and also the NFTs that we own in the digital landowner societies, which will provide those links. But those are opportunities that for roughly a few $100 equivalent in ETH, you can buy into and get residual income, at least a fraction of, for as long as you own it. So there's opportunities. It's about figuring out what is the most value and what you're the most interested in.
Let me preface this by saying that Gary Vee has a lot more money than me, and I'll repeat that this is not financial advice, but I think you should just YOLO whatever you got into anything. If you can come up with $15,000, throw it in there. Like it's more fun if you just go for it. Just swing for the fence once or twice. Again, don't come at me if you do and this place goes completely tits up. But I love, this is one of those things that you're hearing about it all the time, about people buying NFTs and then all of a sudden it's worth 15 times more than that. One of these, especially if you can find one that's got, or get into a DAO or get into something with some residual income, it's not a matter of if it'll pay you back. It's just a matter of when. And there's very realistically one of these spots, one of these $15,000 parcels on one of these main thoroughfares, you could be getting that per month in rent in 10 years. You could be making that back. And again, I know you don't want to take financial advice from me. I'm in the same boat as Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian when it comes to that. But there is so much possibility here that no matter what happens, you're going to wish you'd done more in 10 years. No matter how much you put into it, you're going to wish you sold your car. You're going to wish you sold your baseball collection. I mean, you're going to wish you put everything into this, because very realistically, I mean, with inflation, with the money printing, with everything that's going on, I mean, the way we're thinking about money in terms of the US dollar, it's not even going to be, you're not even able to fathom or wrap your head around the dollar amounts. When people are paying $60 million for a digital yacht right now, or that was in 2021, you don't even know what a $15,000 parcel of land is capable of bringing you by 2030. It's scary to think about.
It is literally, and like, again, we're not giving financial advice, but the price point to buy in on this stuff right now, including plots of land at $12,000, $20,000, is incredibly dirt cheap compared to what is going on with these worlds, crypto, NFTs. Like, if you do yourself a favor and spend a few hours to 5 to 10 hours, and your eyes will be opened. We are at the very bottom floor of this, sub basement even, and it's just a matter of trying to figure out where the value is for you and spreading your money out and going for it. Because, like you said, you don't want this to pass by and you not to have put $1,000 in that you could have risked and lost and be fine with.
Right. Yep. So there's your 100, buy the tokens, 1,000, buy some NFTs, and 10 to 20,000 you can be looking at buying into the land. Again, at the $1,000, you could probably find your way into a DAO or into a crowdfunding of digital real estate. There are possibilities like that out there.
Lots of them.
So those are your three basic ways to get involved in Decentraland.
You had already hinted on it, Ben. Episode 4, I don't think you said the name, but Next Earth, you and I are vested in this project. And I know it was attractive to me for two major reasons. One is I could relate to it because it's an actual map of the world. So these are real places, not digital places. And then the buy-in on Next Earth for the land it's dirt cheap. Some places you can buy in for less than $1, some a few dollars. Personally, I own some celebrity homes. You own some very cool properties. Like, the opportunity within it, I think, is I think the potential of this deal and the leadership that's building it out, the community. Hell, I just saw this week they just went over $1 million donated to charity just since July of 2021. And that's a small fraction of what they're building out. So the stuff that's going on with Next Earth is incredible. Super excited to show what's going on there and kind of show some of the stuff we bought and just really have a good time with what is Next Earth and all its hype.
And we'll get into obviously more of that next week. But I do want to say that because I'm over here in Europe, I was able to get in on the initial token offering.
Yes.
My $250 worth of NXTT tokens is now worth $900. So
damn.
Yeah, So like I said, now I wish I would have sold my car or sold some of these toys laying around and bought more, because all I did was throw in, when I saw that token offering, all I did was throw in some of my Matic that I hadn't bought the property with yet. And all I had was just less than $300 left. So I just moved some Matic over, bought, I think it was 144,000 tokens. And anyways, $250 to 900 as of right before this video. So we'll see where it's at next week. But I thought that was pretty cool, because that was the first one I got in on the initial offering of it, which is pretty cool. So next week, Next Earth.
Yeah, that was just last week. I think you got in, right, or just a little before. Yep. Next Earth. It's a good one, I think.
All right.
That's a wrap. Episode 3, Decentraland. We'll see you next week for Next Earth, episode 4.
See you then.